If you are constantly running out of ground space and fighting the exhausting, expensive battle of replanting fragile annuals every single spring, you are simply utilizing the wrong strategy. Which is exactly why today we are breaking down 15 perennial climbing vegetables to maximize small garden space. Forget tilling the soil for weak, temporary crops. We're talking about permanent, aggressive, vertical climbers that completely conquer the empty airspace above you. You plant them once, and they produce year after year. Right now, let's get straight into number 15.
Kicking off our list at number 15 is a true heavyweight of native North American foraging history that is perfectly suited for modern vertical gardening: the wild sweet potato, widely known as man of the earth. Long before modern grocery stores existed, this robust vining perennial was a crucial survival staple for Native American tribes and early American pioneers pushing across the rugged frontier. Unlike the standard tropical sweet potatoes you find in the produce aisle, this robust native vine produces enormous, deeply buried tubers that, when properly slow roasted over an open fire or baked in a modern oven, deliver a wonderfully rich, earthy, and nutty flavor profile that is profoundly satisfying. Geographically, this plant is an undeniable tank. It is incredibly cold-hardy and thrives effortlessly across USDA zones 4 through 9, making it a spectacular perennial choice for gardeners facing the brutal, freezing winters of the American Midwest or New England. Because the underground tuber can eventually grow to a staggering size, sometimes weighing in at over 20 pounds if left undisturbed over several seasons, your container strategy requires serious volume. You must start with a minimum 15-gallon heavy-duty resin pot or a large fabric grow bag. The soil composition is critical here. You need a heavily sandy, fast-draining mix to prevent this substantial root from rotting during heavy autumn rains. As the vines explode with growth in the early summer, they exhibit a fierce twining habit that aggressively seeks vertical support. You will need a sturdy wooden A-frame trellis to accommodate its rapid upward mobility and its beautiful, morning glory-like white flowers. The sheer survival capability of this plant is heavily documented by federal agricultural experts. The official plant database, maintained by the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, Natural Resources Conservation Service, notes that the vast, starchy, tuberous root system of this native vine is biologically engineered to plunge deep below the frost line. This evolutionary trait allows the wild sweet potato to permanently survive the most extreme, ground-freezing winter temperatures New England can throw at it, effortlessly pushing out a towering new canopy of climbing vines the moment the spring soil warms up. Coming in at number 14 is a deeply revered climbing vegetable that has long been a foundational staple in Asian American communities and is rapidly expanding into mainstream urban gardens across the country: the bitter melon. This vigorously climbing member of the gourd family produces highly textured, warty green fruits that offer a complex, sharp bitterness deeply prized in culinary traditions. When harvested young, the crisp fruit is absolutely incredible when thinly sliced and stir-fried with eggs, stuffed with seasoned ground pork, or steeped into a highly purifying, detoxifying summer tea. Naturally suited to the blistering heat of USDA zones 9 through 11, northern gardeners can easily cultivate this as a perennial by keeping it containerized and utilizing the basement overwintering hack to protect the root system from frost. To ensure a heavy yield, you should plant your bitter melon in a spacious 10-gallon container. The seeds possess a notoriously tough outer hull, so to guarantee rapid germination, you must gently nick the seed coat with a file and soak them in warm water for a full 24 hours. After soaking, press them into a potting mix heavily amended with dark, aged compost. As the plant matures, its highly sensitive, reaching tendrils demand a wide surface area to grab onto, making a wide grid nylon trellis netting the absolute perfect structural support. The medicinal and nutritional firepower of this climbing vegetable is widely recognized in modern scientific literature. Botanical researchers and agronomists from the University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences have extensively documented this. They note that the leaves and unripe fruits of the bitter melon contain substantial concentrations of carotene and polypeptide PE, which functions as a powerful plant-based insulin. These specific compounds are heavily acknowledged by modern medical research for their profound, scientifically proven ability to naturally regulate and significantly lower blood sugar levels, making this vine an incredible dietary tool for managing type 2 diabetes right from your patio. Securing the number 13 spot is a visually spectacular, highly aggressive climber that produces an underground harvest currently fueling one of the biggest culinary trends in the American food scene, ube, or the purple fleshy yam. If you have been to a modern American bakery or a trendy ice cream parlor recently, you have undoubtedly seen the vibrant, electric purple pastries and desserts made from this exact tuber. Instead of paying premium prices, you can grow this substantial, starchy, brilliantly colored yam vertically on your own balcony. Ube is a heat-loving tropical perennial that thrives flawlessly in USDA zones 9 through 11. It also adapts beautifully to container growing for those in cooler states who want to wheel it indoors for the winter. Before we go further, a critical ecological note. Growers in Florida and the Deep South must be aware that this plant can be invasive in warm, humid climates. Keeping it strictly restricted to a container on a hard patio surface is highly recommended to prevent it from escaping into the wild. Because the primary goal is harvesting an enormous, swollen underground tuber, your container strategy requires extreme volume. You must plant your seed tubers in a heavy-duty, breathable, 20-gallon fabric grow bag to ensure maximum soil aeration and root expansion. The potting mix must be incredibly loose and loamy. If the soil becomes waterlogged, the prized purple tuber will instantly rot. Above ground, the vines are incredibly muscular, heavy, and twine tightly in a rapid upward spiral. You cannot use flimsy bamboo stakes for ube. It demands a heavy-duty galvanized steel pergola or a deeply anchored, thick wooden arbor to support the sheer weight of its mature canopy. The nutritional superiority of this specific yam is heavily praised by institutional experts. The agricultural extension programs at the University of Hawaii at Manoa officially classify Dioscorea alata as one of the highest-yielding starch crops on the planet. Furthermore, their research highlights that the shocking neon purple pigment of the flesh is completely natural and derived from a rich concentration of anthocyanins. These are incredibly potent antioxidants that actively fight cellular damage, elevating the ube from a simple, calorie-dense carbohydrate into a legitimate health-boosting superfood that you can easily harvest from a single container. At number 12 is a truly extraordinary, nearly indestructible vining plant that solves a major problem for American gardeners who love squash, the Malabar gourd, also known as the fig leaf gourd. If you have ever tried to grow traditional zucchini or pumpkins, you know the heartbreak of watching your vines get instantly decimated by squash vine borers or root nematodes. The Malabar gourd is the ultimate solution because it is one of the only true perennial squash varieties in existence, and it is practically bulletproof against pests. It provides a phenomenal multi-stage culinary harvest. The tender, bright green young leaves are delicious when sautéed just like spinach, The young green fruits can be harvested early and eaten exactly like a crisp summer zucchini. If left to mature, the mature gourd develops a fascinating, highly fibrous, noodle-like interior that is traditionally boiled down with sugar to create a rich, sweet jam. Thriving as a long-lived perennial in USDA zones 8 through 11, this aggressive climber requires a substantial 15-gallon container filled with a rich blend of potting soil and heavily aged cow manure to support its rampant growth. The vines are incredibly long and the mature fruits are surprisingly heavy, hanging suspended in midair. To support this harvest safely, you must train the vines up a heavy-gauge cattle panel archway, which prevents the heavy gourds from snapping the delicate stems. The staggering resilience of this plant is a major focus of modern agricultural science. Extensive horticultural reports published by the University of California, Davis, UC Davis, confirm that Cucurbita fificifolia possesses a biologically unique root system. This root system exhibits an almost total natural resistance to root knot nematodes and deadly vine borers. This genetic immunity is profoundly effective. Commercial farmers frequently use the Malabar gourd as a master rootstock, physically grafting weaker, highly susceptible watermelons and cucumbers onto its indestructible perennial base to guarantee crop survival. Taking the number 11 position is an incredibly versatile, high-yielding climber that has recently exploded in popularity among American homesteaders and zero-waste enthusiasts, the Luffa Gourd. Most people mistakenly believe that loofah sponges come from the ocean, but they actually come right from this spectacular, aggressive garden vine. The loofah offers the ultimate dual-purpose harvest. When you pluck the bright green gourds incredibly early, when they are tender and under 6 inches long, they are a spectacular, slightly sweet vegetable that cooks up beautifully in a summer stir-fry, absorbing flavors exactly like okra or zucchini. However, if you leave the gourds on the vine through the long summer until the skin turns completely brown and dry, you can peel them open to reveal a substantial, fibrous, perfectly natural bathing sponge. Operating as a vigorous perennial in the extreme heat of USDA zones 9 through 11, northern growers simply keep the plant in a 10-gallon container and move the dormant root system into the garage before the winter freezes hit. The loofah demands a location that receives blistering, full-throttle, unobstructed sunlight to fuel its heavy fruit production. The vines are equipped with incredibly strong, highly active tendrils that eagerly reach out and lock on to anything in their path, making a standard chain-link fence or a heavy wire mesh trellis the ideal climbing structure. The unique growing habits of this plant are closely studied by agricultural extensions. The horticultural experts at NC State Extension specifically classify the Luffa Gourd as a short-day plant. Their research explains that during the peak heat of the long summer days, the plant focuses almost all of its biological energy entirely on deep root expansion and dense foliage growth. It is only when the days noticeably shorten and the nights grow longer in the late autumn that the plant receives the biological signal to trigger a remarkable, explosive flush of female flowers. This provides a crucial late-season nectar source for native pollinators preparing for winter. Before we break into the top 10, have you ever tried growing a dual-purpose climbing plant like the loofah on your patio? Let me know in the comments. If you are finding these space-saving strategies helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's move on to number 10. Breaking into the top 10 is an incredibly beautiful, highly resilient climbing vegetable that has found a passionate following in the cool, misty climates of the American Pacific Northwest, Mashua. As a close relative of the common garden nasturtium, This Andean mountain vine produces a breathtaking display of tubular, brightly colored flowers alongside an underground bounty of brilliantly colored, highly nutritious tubers. The Mashua tuber offers a culinary experience of extreme contrasts. If you bite into it completely raw, it delivers a sharp, pungent, highly aggressive, peppery kick that rivals strong mustard or horseradish. However, when you toss these tubers in olive oil and slow roast them in the oven, the intense heat completely breaks down the spicy compounds, resulting in a wonderfully sweet, earthy, and highly comforting flavor profile. Because it originates in high-altitude environments, Mashua actively despises extreme heat and humidity, thriving beautifully in the cooler, often overcast conditions of USDA zones 7 through 10. To maximize your harvest of these unique tubers, you must plant them in a highly breathable 10 to 15 gallon fabric grow bag, ensuring the soil remains consistently lightly moist without ever becoming waterlogged. The vines are incredibly dense, lush, and slightly fragile, climbing upward by wrapping their sensitive leaf stems around narrow supports. A wide, V-shaped trellis made of thin wire or heavy twine is the absolute perfect structure. This allows it to capture sunlight while supporting the dense foliage. The science behind the dramatic flavor shift of Mashua is fully explained by the International Potato Center, CIP. Their botanical researchers successfully isolated the chemical compounds in the tuber, confirming that the intensely spicy raw flavor and its almost magical immunity to aphids and garden pests are caused by rich concentrations of glucosinolates. The application of roasting heat violently breaks down these complex glucosinolate structures, completely neutralizing the plant's peppery defense mechanism and unlocking the hidden, sugary sweetness within. Securing the number 9 position is a powerhouse of wild American foraging history that is finally making its way into the modern vertical garden, the Hog Peanut. This delicate, fascinating, and highly resilient native vine offers a truly extraordinary dual harvest system that makes it a spectacular addition to any patio. Above ground, the climbing vine produces a classic edible green bean pod that is excellent when lightly steamed or sautéed. However, completely hidden beneath the soil, the plant's complex root system produces a secondary crop of small, incredibly delicious, protein-dense tubers that boast a rich, earthy flavor, remarkably similar to freshly roasted chestnuts. Because it is a true North American native species, it is exceptionally cold-hardy, thriving effortlessly across the freezing climates of USDA zones 4 through 8, making it a rugged, permanent survivor for northern gardeners. Your container strategy is the absolute key to unlocking this hidden underground harvest. You must completely avoid narrow pots and instead choose a highly elongated, incredibly wide, 10-gallon rectangular window box. This expansive horizontal surface area gives the subterranean root system the sprawling room it desperately needs to develop those prized chestnut-flavored tubers. You should plant your seeds exactly 1 inch deep into a rich, loamy soil mix. Since the climbing vines are quite slender and lightweight, a simple stretch of basic chicken wire or a lightweight nylon net provides the perfect structural support. The fascinating biology of this dual crop system is officially documented by the United States Department of Agriculture. Their botanical research confirms that this remarkable legume possesses the incredibly rare ability to produce cleistogamous flowers. These are specialized subterranean blossoms that literally never open to the outside world. Instead, they remain permanently buried in the dark soil, completely self-pollinate without the need for bees, and rapidly swell into those protein-dense tubers, providing a highly reliable hidden food source that was historically crucial for surviving brutal winters. Taking the number 8 spot is a towering, heavy-producing legume that completely embodies the rich agricultural heritage of the American South. The Florida Butterbean, a classic perennial pole Lima. Unlike the modern, exhausting bush beans that burn out, dry up, and die after a single, short-lived harvest, this aggressive climbing heirloom establishes a permanent, deep-rooted presence. It continuously pumps out heavy, creamy, incredibly rich, and buttery beans that are the cornerstone of traditional Southern comfort cooking. It thrives as a true, long-lived perennial in the hot, humid environments of USDA Zones 8 through 11. Northern gardeners can easily preserve it by bringing the containerized root system indoors before the freezing weather hits. To support a permanent root system designed to live and produce for several years, you need to provide a highly accommodating, heavy-duty 10 to 15-gallon container. The fertilizing technique here is all about chemical balance. You must aggressively restrict the amount of nitrogen in the potting mix. If the nitrogen is too high, the vine will explode with vast green leaves but refuse to flower. Instead, you must heavily amend the soil with high-quality phosphorus to trigger relentless, continuous pod production. The vines are notorious for their rapid, twining upward mobility. They require a very tall, tightly secured, rustic teepee trellis system made of long wooden poles to support their vertical ambition. The longevity and extreme efficiency of this plant are heavily documented by federal agricultural experts. The Southern Sustainable Agriculture Research and Education program formally classifies this specific heirloom butterbean as a true perennial species in warm climates. Their agronomists highlight that its deeply plunging root system slowly forms an incredibly stable, permanent nitrogen-fixing biological network within the soil. This self-fertilizing capability allows the aging vine to relentlessly push out fresh flushes of blossoms and substantial bean pods across multiple growing seasons without ever needing to be uprooted and replanted. Coming in at number 7 is an absolute lifesaver for gardeners dealing with the punishing, relentless summer heat of places like Texas, Arizona, and Florida. Malabar Spinach. When the blistering July heat waves hit, traditional garden greens like spinach and lettuce immediately bolt, turn bitter, and wither away into dust. Malabar spinach, however, completely thrives in this extreme thermal environment, rapidly producing incredibly thick, succulent, heart-shaped leaves on gorgeous, winding crimson-red stems. Harvesting these thick leaves and tossing them into a summer stir-fry or soup provides a wonderfully mild flavor and an incredibly soothing, cooling effect on the body during the absolute hottest months of the year. It handles extreme temperature fluctuations effortlessly and lives as an unstoppable perennial in the deep heat of USDA Zones 7 through 11. The container strategy for Malabar spinach is highly efficient and space-saving. Because its root system is surprisingly compact relative to its vast, sprawling aerial growth, a modest 5 to 7 gallon container is perfectly adequate. You must fill this pot with an aggressively rich blend of organic compost. Maintain a rigorous, heavy watering schedule, keeping the soil completely saturated. The vines are muscular and wrap in an incredibly tight, spiraling motion, making them the absolute perfect candidate for climbing a highly decorative, architectural garden obelisk right on your patio. The scientific mechanics behind its extreme heat tolerance are deeply fascinating. Agronomists from the University of Wisconsin-Madison Division of Extension have heavily analyzed the plant's unique biological structure. They explain that its unrivaled immunity to scorching temperatures, thriving effortlessly even when the mercury blasts past 100 degrees Fahrenheit, is entirely due to the exceptionally high concentration of mucilage trapped inside the thick leaves. This internal mucilage is packed with highly specialized soluble fiber that allows the plant's cellular structure to lock in remarkable amounts of water, entirely preventing the vine from wilting while giving your soups that highly prized, rich, velvety texture. Securing the number 6 position is an incredibly vigorous, highly resilient climber that offers one of the most unique, high-yield harvesting systems imaginable for northern growers, the Chinese yam, also widely known in America as the cinnamon vine. This incredibly fast-growing plant solves the ultimate problem of small-space gardening by delivering an exceptional dual harvest, while filling your late summer patio with a deeply intoxicating, spicy cinnamon fragrance. During the peak of fall, the vine produces hundreds of small aerial bulbils that hang completely suspended in the air, while simultaneously driving an enormous, deeply buried, starchy tuber straight down into the earth. It is one of the very few yams that behaves as an elite, cold-hardy perennial, surviving freezing winters effortlessly across USDA zones 5 through 9. A critical warning for cultivators. This plant is considered highly invasive in several regions, particularly across the Midwest and Southeast. To prevent the aerial bulbils from escaping into the wild, growing this strictly in a container on a concrete patio or balcony surface is mandatory. The container strategy for this plant is an exercise in extreme vertical depth. Because the deep underground tuber acts like an aggressive biological drill, plunging perfectly straight down into the earth, standard shallow pots will severely stunt its growth and deform the harvest. You must use a ridiculously deep container, at least 1 meter deep, or heavily modify a large, wide-diameter PVC pipe, standing it vertically and packing it with loose, loamy soil. The vines are incredibly muscular and twine aggressively, demanding a tall, sturdy pergola to provide enough aerial airspace for the hundreds of hanging bulbils to develop properly. The botanical advantages of this plant are heavily praised by institutional experts. Data maintained by the prestigious Missouri Botanical Garden specifically highlights the Chinese yam as a profound anomaly, being one of the only true yam species capable of easily surviving freezing, frost-heavy North American winters. Their horticultural experts emphasize that its highly efficient dual harvest mechanism, plucking the aerial tubers effortlessly off the trellis in the autumn, and then unearthing the massive, nutrient-dense subterranean tuber the following spring, makes it the undisputed champion. It truly maximizes caloric yield per square foot in tightly confined urban garden spaces. Breaking into the top 5 is a legendary climbing vine that is the absolute backbone of the massive American craft beer industry, but hides a highly coveted, secret culinary harvest: hops. While millions of American homebrewers grow this vigorous perennial exclusively for the aromatic green cones harvested in the fall to flavor their IPAs, the culinary world prizes a completely different part of the plant. In the very early spring, as the plant wakes up from dormancy, it aggressively pushes up dozens of thick, tender green shoots. These shoots, often referred to globally as hop asparagus, are fiercely sought after by high-end chefs and are widely considered one of the most expensive and rare vegetables in the world. Hops are incredibly rugged and actively require the freezing, brutal temperatures of USDA zones 3 through 8 to achieve proper winter dormancy. Because the root system, known as a crown, grows vast over the years, you must plant it in a huge heavy-duty half-barrel planter filled with loose, heavily composted soil. You must prepare to unearth and carefully divide the crown every 3 to 4 years to prevent it from choking itself out. The vines, technically called bines because they grip with stout hairs rather than tendrils, can easily rocket up to 20 feet in a single season. They demand a heavy-duty choir rope dropped directly from your roofline or a massive, towering trellis to climb successfully. The science behind eating these expensive spring shoots is actually rooted in brilliant agricultural maintenance. Specialists from the Michigan State University, MSU Extension, confirm that the subterranean rhizomes of a hop plant can easily live and produce for over a decade. They note that selectively cutting and eating the first flush of spring shoots is actually a highly necessary, scientifically sound thinning practice. By eating the excess early shoots, you force the substantial root system to channel all of its stored winter energy into just 2 or 3 primary binds, guaranteeing a significantly healthier plant and a dramatically higher quality cone harvest in the autumn. Taking the number 4 spot is an incredibly rare, highly prized botanical oddity that solves a major environmental problem for urban patio gardeners: Caucasian spinach. Almost all high-yielding climbing vegetables demand blistering, full-throttle, unobstructed sunlight to survive, which is a massive issue if your balcony is blocked by tall buildings or large trees. This unique vining spinach, however, actively prefers the cool, dappled relief of deep shade. It provides a fantastic culinary experience. In the early spring, you harvest the thick, emerging new shoots and prepare them exactly like fresh asparagus. Throughout the long summer, you continually pluck the tender, vibrant green leaves for stir-fries and fresh salads. This plant is an extreme cold-weather survivor, flourishing effortlessly in the freezing climates of USDA zones 3 through 7. Your container choice must account for the brutal northern winters it thrives in. You should select a highly flexible 7 to 10 gallon resin or plastic pot. This flexibility is absolutely critical because as the substantial root system freezes solid and expands under the winter snow, a rigid terracotta pot will violently shatter, whereas a flexible plastic pot will safely stretch and contract. Once established, the vine actively prefers to scramble up the rough bark of large tree trunks or a heavily shaded wall trellis. The staggering resilience of this shade-loving vine is heavily documented by organic farming institutions. The Maine Organic Farmers and Gardeners Association, MOFGA, highly recommends this plant as the ultimate perennial leafy green for cold climates. They note that unlike traditional annual spinach, which immediately bolts, goes to seed, and dies the second the weather changes, the deep root system of Hablitzia tamnoides survives permanently, buried under snowpack at temperatures plunging below -20 degrees Fahrenheit. It effortlessly pushes out vigorous vines that rocket up to 3 meters high every single spring. Securing the number 3 position is a breathtakingly beautiful, hyper-vigorous climber that has been an iconic staple of historic American gardens for centuries, the Scarlet runner bean. This incredibly fast-growing vine produces an absolute explosion of brilliant, fiery, red flowers that act as an irresistible, buzzing magnet for native hummingbirds and essential pollinators. Following the spectacular floral display, it yields a heavy crop of long, delicious green pods that are absolutely incredible when harvested young and snapped exactly like traditional green beans. It is surprisingly resilient, functioning beautifully as a perennial in USDA zones 7 through 11, though northern gardeners in colder zones routinely preserve their plants by utilizing the basement overwintering hack. The container strategy for this plant is focused entirely on providing enough space for a highly communal, dense planting. A spacious 10 to 15 gallon container is absolutely perfect for planting 2 or 3 vines together to create a dense, impenetrable wall of green foliage. The soil must be highly aerated and heavily amended with a rich layer of nutrient-dense worm castings to fuel the rapid growth. The vines of the Scarlet runner bean are genetically programmed to aggressively twine in a counterclockwise spiral. They will rapidly scale a tall, securely tied, traditional teepee trellis made of long bamboo poles. The perennial nature of this bean is a fascinating anomaly in the legume family. Extensive botanical data maintained by the Seed Savers Exchange, America's largest nonprofit seed conservation organization, highlights the profound genetic difference between this heritage plant and standard garden varieties. Unlike the common green bean, which is biologically programmed to die completely after a single season, the scarlet runner bean is a true perennial. It achieves this longevity by developing a vast, swollen network of tuberous roots deep beneath the soil, hoarding remarkable amounts of energy over the winter to aggressively force out fresh, highly vigorous new climbing shoots the following spring, acting exactly like a perennial potato. Capturing the runner-up position at number 2 is an absolute powerhouse of native North American foraging history, deeply revered by indigenous tribes, that is finally making its way into the modern vertical garden, the American groundnut. This gorgeous, nitrogen-fixing vine produces absolutely stunning, complex, highly aromatic flowers on the trellis, while quietly forging a vast interconnected chain of highly nutritious tubers beneath the soil. When thoroughly cooked and mashed, these tubers deliver an incredibly rich, dense flavor profile that tastes like a perfect hybrid between a sweet potato and a roasted chestnut. Because it is a rugged, deeply native species, it is remarkably cold hardy, thriving effortlessly across the freezing winters of USDA zones 3 through 7, making it entirely invincible to harsh northern weather. The container requirement for the groundnut is highly specific due to its unique subterranean growth habit. The plant does not form a single centralized clump of potatoes. It creates a long, sprawling, horizontal chain of tubers. Therefore, you must use an incredibly long, deep, rectangular planter box to accommodate the harvest. You will bury the seed tubers 3 inches deep into a heavy mix of sand and peat moss. You must aggressively water it to maintain a permanently wet, slightly boggy soil environment. The rapidly twining stems need tall, heavy netting or a high vertical fence to spiral upward successfully. The staggering nutritional superiority of this native vine is a major focus for modern American agronomists. Extensive crop domestication research conducted by the Louisiana State University, LSU, Ag Center highlights that Apios americana is a highly efficient legume. It possesses the biological ability to actively pull nitrogen straight from the atmosphere, essentially manufacturing its own fertilizer underground. This brilliant biological advantage allows the groundnut to pack its tubers with an astonishing 17% protein content, which absolutely dwarfs the nutritional value of standard, starchy, grocery store potatoes by a massive factor of 3. Taking the absolute, undisputed crown at the number 1 spot is the heavyweight champion of the vertical vegetable garden, an iconic staple of traditional Louisiana Creole cuisine, where it is famously known as the Mirliton, the Chayote. This monstrous, incredibly aggressive vining perennial produces a truly staggering yield of pale green, deeply ridged, pear-shaped fruits that are absolute perfection when sliced, battered, and fried, or heavily stuffed with seasoned seafood. Furthermore, the rapidly growing, tender, green shoots are highly prized as a premium, standalone vegetable delicacy. It is a towering, sprawling, perennial powerhouse that thrives in the heavy warmth and humidity of USDA zones 8 through 11. For those northern gardeners utilizing the basement hack, extreme patience is required. The Chayote demands a remarkably long, hot season, often 120 to 150 frost-free days, before it will even consider setting flowers. The container strategy for the Mirliton is a serious logistical undertaking. Because the root system will continue to expand, thicken, and live for decades, you absolutely must provide a supersized container requiring a minimum of 20 gallons. The planting technique is entirely unique to this specific plant. You do not plant a tiny seed. You take an entire mature chayote fruit that has actively sprouted a green shoot from its crevice, lay it horizontally on the damp soil. Bury exactly 2/3 of the fleshy fruit, leaving the active sprout exposed to the air. The climbing tendrils of this plant are incredibly long, thick, and brutally strong. They require a heavy-duty, heavily reinforced, overhead galvanized steel trellis system to safely support the hundreds of pounds of fruit it will eventually produce. The bizarre biological reality of how this plant reproduces is a marvel of the natural world. Botanical experts from the University of Florida's Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences have thoroughly documented the chayote's completely unique reproductive phenomenon known as vivipary. Unlike almost every other fruit on Earth, the single, substantial seed inside a chayote will never, ever separate from the fruit's flesh. It is biologically locked inside and will germinate directly from the core of the mother fruit. Therefore, you are strictly required to plant the entire fleshy fruit directly into the dirt, as the decaying flesh acts as the mandatory initial nutrient source to feed the explosive development of the new perennial root system. That wraps up our countdown of the 15 perennial climbing vegetables engineered to conquer your empty airspace and completely transform your small garden. Did I miss a high-yielding perennial climber that you've already had success with? Let me know in the comments below, along with what space-saving gardening topics you want me to cover next. If you found this vertical gardening guide helpful, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more agricultural deep dives, and I'll see you in the next video. Keep climbing and happy growing.